Right now on Morning News Now, Donald Trump making history in America once again. Later today, the former president will return to Washington to face a federal judge over his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election. This morning, barriers line the courthouse where he will appear, not far from the Capitol. And now, Trump's GOP rivals are speaking out about the charges against him.
Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States.
We have team coverage with what to expect today, what happens next, and how it's splitting the field ahead of the 2024 election. Plus, sentenced to death this morning, the man behind the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history will spend the rest of his life behind bars, 5 years after killing 11 worshipers at a synagogue in Pittsburgh. More on the emotional ending to a nearly 2-month trial and the message from the victims' loved ones. Also this morning, legal trouble for the makers of popular diabetes drugs that are also used for weight loss. More on the claims that the meds also cause severe stomach problems. And older workers clocking in. New data shows a shift when it comes to age in the workplace. We'll break down why the workforce is trending older. Great to have you with us this morning.
Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. We're going to begin this morning, of course, with that big news happening later today. Former President Trump set to appear in court to face new federal charges.
Trump will be arraigned in federal court this afternoon to face charges that were brought by special counsel Jack Smith that center on the 2020 election. The grand jury indicted the former president on 4 charges on Tuesday, including conspiracy to defraud the nation. Now, according to the indictment, former President Trump's actions to allegedly try to overturn the 2020 election helped fuel the January 6th attack on the Capitol. This marks the second federal indictment handed down to Trump this year. He was also indicted on state charges in New York, and officials in Georgia are expected to announce the results of their investigation into election interference by September 1st. We have a team covering all of this for us this morning. We're going to start with NBC News correspondent Dasha Burns in Bedminster, New Jersey, along with civil rights attorney and former prosecutor David Henderson to help us analyze these charges. Dasha, let's start with you. What can we expect to happen during today's arraignment? The former president is expected to be there in person, right?
Yeah, Joe, we're going to witness a pretty remarkable moment and a striking juxtaposition where we're going to see a former president arraigned on charges related to trying to overturn a U.S. election at the same time as he is currently running to become president once again. So this is going to be symbolically really significant. But in terms of the practical issue, what we're actually going to see today, it's going to be fairly mundane in terms of the proceeding here. We've seen this a few times before now. This is the third time we're going to be witnessing this. And it's going to be pretty similar to what we've seen the last 2 times, the first federal indictment and the state indictment as well, where he's going to travel from here in Bedminster to that courthouse in Washington, D.C. He is going to be processed. He's going to enter a plea. We expect that he will plead not guilty, and then he is going to be given conditions for his release. In the past, he hasn't really been restricted in any way. We expect that'll be the same again, although we don't know. This is, of course, a different case, a different judge. And again, with the former president, expect the unexpected. He might give an impromptu speech. We don't know what's going to happen. But again, we expect things to be fairly straightforward just in terms of the process here. Fairly simple, fairly straightforward. But again, in terms of the historic moment, pretty monumental here, Joe.
So, David, ahead of this important hearing, you've got Trump's legal team already saying special counsel Jack Smith is being unrealistic by calling for a speedy trial to take place in 90 days. Let's listen to some of that argument here.
The special counsel or the Justice Department, the Biden Justice Department, has had 3 years to investigate this. To take President Trump to trial in 90 days, of course, is absurd. The question is, why do they want to do that? If you want to seek justice, then you need to offer President Trump an opportunity to get a hold of all the evidence and understand what the facts are.
So, David, what does need to happen in order to have a quick trial date here? And what are some of the challenges for both the prosecution and the defense?
Honestly, Joe, to get a quick trial date, you just got to convince the judge to give you one. Now, honestly, this is kind of like buying a used car. When you go in and you ask for a lower price than you want to pay, understanding the other side is going to ask for a higher price, you're probably going to meet someplace in the middle. I think the likelihood of this case going in 90 days is almost non-existent. And I say that because I've tried over 80 cases or around 80 cases. I've never had one go on the first setting, normally not on the second or the third setting. They normally just get pushed back, even if you get your earlier trial date. So the defense does need some time to get ready. The judge will be respectful of that, but I can guarantee you this judge is not going to tolerate a lot of nonsense. I think this case is going to go to trial more quickly than most of us might expect to see it otherwise.
David, another issue is venue. The former president says he will not be able to get a fair trial in D.C. He's calling for officials to move the case to what he calls an unbiased state like West Virginia. We should note that's a state Trump won by nearly 40 points in 2020. But overall, does he have a valid argument here about being able to get a fair trial? What are the odds we actually see a change of venue here?
In short, Joe, no, he does not have a reasonable argument. And here's the reason why. Let's look at another recent high-profile case. When they're trying Derek Chauvin for murdering George Floyd, Derek Chauvin said, I can't get a fair trial here. Let's move it someplace else. And the judge asked, where are you going to move this case in this state that people haven't heard of it? And so when you start looking at D.C., you're talking about the same issue. Where are you going to go that people haven't heard about this case? Where are you going to go that people don't already have concerns about President Trump, opinions about President Trump? And keep in mind, the issue is not whether or not people might have a bias, but whether or not they can set that bias aside. Now, as I tell you all those things, the truth here is the defense team isn't going to say it, but they're not afraid of a D.C. jury. They're afraid of this D.C. judge. This D.C. judge is not going to allow the type of special treatment that former President Trump has received thus far, and she's not going to deal with a lot of nonsense. That's what they're most concerned about.
So, Dasha, as we've seen in New York, as we've seen in Florida, this is far from a typical arraignment. Talk to us about some of the security concerns here. The Secret Service put out a statement saying they're working with several branches of law enforcement to make sure the hearing is safe, which is no surprise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We expect that there will possibly be pro and anti-Trump protesters around the courthouse today. It's likely that this courthouse will see the highest security measures that it's ever seen, both in and outside the area. The statement the Secret Service spokesman put out said that they're working with the Metropolitan Police Department, U.S. Marshal Service, U.S. Capitol Police, Federal Protective Service. So you are going to see extremely heightened security measures to make sure that both the former president, this judge, of course, Jack Smith, and all of the folks that are in that area today are protected, as this could be, it's just an unpredictable situation, Joe.
And Dasha, once the hearing is done, what's next for Trump? Is he planning to hit the campaign trail?
Well, we've already seen multiple fundraising emails from his campaign and the groups supporting him. This is absolutely a moment that he's going to try to use to raise money, to rally support around him. He's going to be traveling to Alabama tomorrow to headline a GOP dinner there. So, yeah, he's hitting the campaign trail. He is going to be using this, as we've seen him in the past. This is a time when those numbers tend to spike. The poll numbers spike, the donation numbers spike. And this is the time to build that momentum for him in this primary. As crazy as that might seem, this indictment is not necessarily bad for him politically, Joe.
Dasha Burns and David Henderson, thank you both.
Now we're going to bring in NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen. Hello, friend. Good morning. Thanks for being here. So yesterday, the former president said he's never had so much support after these last charges were announced. I mean, it's early still, but there's no indication that that is incorrect. I mean, polls are still showing this support. Do you think there's any chance this indictment changes that? Does this eat away? Maybe perhaps another indictment in Georgia would eat away, or will it only amplify his support?
Great question, Savannah. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have a rearview mirror. And in that rearview mirror, the support for Donald Trump within the Republican Party has only been growing each time he has run into legal trouble. So if past his prologue, you can expect that at the very least, he'll basically hold his lead, perhaps expand it a little bit, maybe lose a little bit. But if you look at those numbers that you can see on the screen right now, I mean, he's at 54%. Ron DeSantis, who's in second place, is at 17%, basically, less than 1/3 of the support that Trump has right now.
Yeah, just such a large margin there. Speaking of DeSantis, I do want to talk about how his rivals are handling this. DeSantis and former Vice President Mike Pence, of course, Trump's former vice president, they had very different takes. We're seeing this kind of happen across the field, this disparity between people who kind of want to throw this support and people who are willing to just say it. First, let's listen to some of this and talk on the other side.
a D.C. jury would indict a ham sandwich and convict a ham sandwich if it was a Republican ham sandwich.
I'm going to make it clear to the American people, as I seek the Republican nomination, that despite what Donald Trump has said over the last 2.5 years, that I had no right to overturn the election.
You know, it's interesting, John, to watch these people who are in a political fight with the former president, but who still support in this way or take it out on the Justice Department. Pence is one of the few people who is actually calling him out. How is that impacting Pence's support among Republicans?
I mean, Mike Pence's support among Republicans is very low. There is some percentage of the GOP that looks at Mike Pence and says, you know, what he did on January 6th was heroic. What he has said in the past, that basically, he isn't using this word, but he's basically saying Trump is disqualified for being president. And people who agree also with his very conservative politics is a small group, but he's certainly got them. You know, you mentioned this range of responses to Trump. I mean, it's just the relationship between your viability as a Republican primary candidate and your willingness to take Donald Trump on over January 6th is completely inverse. That is to say, those who are doing well are the ones that are not willing to do that, and those who are doing poorly are the ones like Mike Pence who have been very critical of him over January 6th.
And John, I mentioned just a second ago, rather than, you know, directing any of this at Trump, a lot of this is coming to talk about the Justice Department, a weaponization of the justice system, a comparison between what's happening to the former president with the current president's son, Hunter Biden. Walk us through what we're seeing in response to that. I mean, the White House has said that the Justice Department carries out criminal investigations independently, but what does the Republican base think about that argument?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely red meat for the base, the idea that Joe Biden is using the government to, you know, weaponizing the government to go after Donald Trump. Of course, there's no evidence of that. Biden, at least publicly, hasn't said anything about these investigations or these indictments. The White House has been really, I think, careful about not trying to add to any appearance or any fuel any fire that's going on. At the same time, like, there's a huge difference between Hunter Biden and Donald Trump in that Donald Trump was president of the United States when his acts were alleged to have occurred, or when the acts that are alleged to be crimes occurred. Hunter Biden, of course, holds actually no formal power in the United States, and of course, there really is not. There's not any criminal case against Joe Biden, the president, over his relationship with his son. So, I mean, there's a real sort of imbalance in those two arguments right now. You know, it's difficult to have anything happen in politics without it becoming much more partisan immediately.
John, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Central to the prosecution's case against Trump is an alleged scheme to use so-called fake electors to try and derail the electoral vote count held following the 2020 election. NBC News Now anchor Hallie Jackson breaks down that alleged scheme for us.
You probably know how a presidential election works. Voters in all 50 states head to the polls to choose who they want as president. If enough voters back a certain candidate, that candidate gets electoral college votes from that state. The winner needs 270. That's the magic number.
Here's the road to 270.
So that's what you see on TV. You typically don't see what happens next because it's usually a formality, as members of the electoral college pick it up from there. Those members, called electors, are selected by state parties months before Election Day. After every presidential election in December, each state gathers together electors from whichever party won the popular vote in that state. Those folks meet and send an official certificate to the National Archives and to Congress. They look like these, and they basically say, okay, this is who gets our state's electoral college votes. It's pretty ceremonial. Except in 2020. That's when the former president and his allies got to work convincing loyalists in 7 states that they should back Republican electors in key battlegrounds won by the Democrat in the race, Joe Biden. The focus on Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Wisconsin, New Mexico, and Pennsylvania. Some of those so-called fake electors showed up at state capitals where the real electors were meeting. They even created phony certificates like the ones you see here. The goal, apparently, to send through this fake slate of electors to Congress, where the vice president presides over the official count. The thinking seemed to be that then VP Mike Pence could grant Mr. Trump the disputed electoral votes or send the issue back to the states, opening the door to keeping Mr. Trump in power. You probably know what happened next. Pence rejected the scheme, citing the Constitution.
President Donald J. Trump!
And Mr. Trump on the National Mall told his supporters the election was being stolen. It was not.
We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Remember, by that time, most of Mr. Trump's election challenges had been thrown out in court, and his own attorney general had declared no evidence of widespread fraud.
Our thanks to Hallie Jackson for that explainer. Defenders of the president do point to one historical moment as an argument for why they think the actions of Trump and his allies don't amount to a crime. In the 1960 election between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon, the results in Hawaii were so close they couldn't pin down a winner by that mid-December meeting of electors. Now, at that meeting, both Republican and Democratic electors cast their votes. Eventually, the votes were retallied, with Kennedy declared the winner. The key difference, according to legal experts, the results in Hawaii back then were legitimately still in question by mid-December. Well, this time, the 7 states where the fake electors offered up their votes, those results were not.
Well, a Pennsylvania jury has sentenced the man responsible for the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history to death. NBC News correspondent Kathy Park reports on what happened in the courtroom and what survivors of the shooting had to say afterwards.
Jurors unanimously handing down a death sentence for Robert Bowers, who carried out the worst anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history. The final phase of the trial coming to a close nearly 2 months after the same Pittsburgh jury found Bowers guilty on all 63 federal charges, including hate crimes for the murders of 11 worshipers at the Tree of Life Synagogue in 2018. Bowers hardly reacted to the verdict, while survivors and family members of the victims say this day brings a measure of peace.
I feel like a weight has been lifted, and I can breathe a sigh of relief.
In the same room where they waited for updates on loved ones on the day of the shooting, the group reunited again and found comfort in each other.
We're all members of a club that we never chose to be members of, but we're all bonded for the rest of our lives.
Carol Black survived the bloodshed by hiding behind a metal door, but lost her brother in the attack.
If you can sum up in one word your emotion when the verdict was read, what would that be?
Relief. They came to the proper decision, in my opinion.
In a final push to spare his life, Bowers' defense team pointed to his troubled past, but prosecutors reminded jurors of the 11 lives violently stolen nearly 5 years ago, replaying chilling 911 calls from inside the synagogue that day as he gunned down worshipers during Shabbat services. The U.S. attorney saying Bowers targeted the congregants because they were Jewish.
The evidence in this trial proved that the defendant acted because of white supremacist, anti-Semitic, and bigoted views.
Our thanks to Kathy Park for that report. Well, the judge will formally sentence Robert Bowers to death at a hearing later this month.
Some wet weather is expected across the east over the next few days, putting flood warnings in effect for some areas. So let's get a check on your morning news now weather forecast.
Angie Lastman is here in studio. Hi, Angie. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. We had a pretty active 24 hours when it comes to rain across parts of the Midwest. And for that reason, we have already flood watches and flash flood warnings in effect this morning. And they're likely going to go throughout the morning, potentially into the afternoon hours, including places like St. Louis, Paducah, Huntsville. All of those areas seeing ample amounts of rain still working through, and some really significant rainfall over the past day or so. You can see fairly active this morning as well. Some lightning and plenty of it focused right around that kind of state line of Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, even up into portions of Indiana. So an active start to the morning. But on the other hand, yes, all of this rain really bringing us a whole lot of it at one time means that flooding concerns will be there. But we're dealing with drought conditions in a lot of these places that have picked up the highest amounts of rain. So where you see that brighter red, extreme drought draped across parts of Missouri, up into Iowa, up into Nebraska, Kansas, and specifically for Missouri, they picked up a whole lot of rain in some of those very spots that really needed it. Agriculture areas, of course, are happy about this. You can see 7 inches of rain for Walnut, 8.65 inches of rain in Harris, Missouri. Columbia picked up 3.7. So that's why we have the flooding concerns. But on the other hand, good for that drought. Now, moving through the next 24 hours, we're going to continue to see some of that rain work into parts of the southeast. That's where the active weather will be through the day today. That means also the flooding and the severe weather, the strong storms that we could potentially see. Some of the northeast will pick up on some of these showers and thunderstorms through the day today and tomorrow. Really up and down the East Coast tomorrow, we'll have unsettled weather. Could bring some problems to you too if you're planning on traveling for your Friday. So just an FYI on that. Meanwhile, we have flash flood risk in place in a couple of spots, out towards the plains and across parts of the Rockies, north of the Rockies, I should say, and then across parts of the southeast and extending into the Midwest. Those same kind of areas where we once again will pick up on anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain widespread, but we could see localized amounts up to 4 inches. This does include major metros such as Atlanta, Nashville, so just a heads up on that. You'll have to deal with that throughout the day today. We also will see this afternoon and evening bring a risk of severe weather that does focus out towards places like Denver, North Scott City, too, where we could see strong wind gusts, large hail. Tornado risk is low. That goes for the southeast, too, and even parts of New England, but it's not zero, so we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Otherwise, the heavy rain could potentially lead to some slower travel today, not just today, though, into tomorrow, too, guys, and that finally will be out of the picture by the time the weekend rolls around. So there's your good news.
There we go. Nice weekend.
I love when you give us that. Thanks, Angie.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, drying out. Trillions of gallons of water now gone from a critical water source. More on the issue that's sparking new concerns about climate change.
Up first, though, after the break, the FBI searching for more victims after a woman escapes what's being called a makeshift prison after being kidnapped. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. The U.S. Capitol Police Chief says that a report of an active shooter yesterday on Capitol Hill may have been a bogus call. Senate office buildings were put on lockdown after Metropolitan Police received a call about an active shooter in the Hart Senate office building. The police chief says officers responded within seconds. Police found no threat. The buildings were cleared and things returned to normal nearly 2 hours later.
Well, a woman is safe this morning after escaping a makeshift cinder block cell. The FBI says she was kidnapped by a 29-year-old man. The suspect is behind bars, but authorities believe there may be more victims. NBC News correspondent Erin McLaughlin has more.
In Oregon, the FBI releasing these chilling photos of the makeshift cell used to shackle a woman they allege was kidnapped and sexually assaulted by this man, 29-year-old Nagasi Zuberi. The married father is now in police custody.
The disturbing evidence uncovered to date points to an individual's ongoing and escalating pattern of violence targeting women.
Authorities say his alleged victim escaped hours after being locked in this cinder block cell by punching her way through this metal screen door with bloodied hands.
And she ran out into public, flagged down the first vehicle she could find.
According to the criminal complaint, in mid-July, Zuberi hired the victim as a prostitute in Seattle, then claimed to be an undercover police officer, even showing her a badge before placing her in handcuffs and leg irons and driving her 450 miles away to his residence in Klamath Falls, Oregon, where the FBI alleges it recovered these chilling notes, including one that reads Operation Takeover, writing, "Make sure they don't have a bunch of people in their life." The day after the alleged kidnapping, Zuberi was arrested following a 45-minute standoff in a Walmart parking lot in Reno, Nevada. The FBI now extending its investigation to at least 12 states, where the suspect has previously lived using several different aliases.
It is believed he may have used several different methods to gain control of his victims, to include drugging their drinks.
State and federal officials say they believe there are more victims and urging others to come forward. Erin McLaughlin, NBC News.
Turning to international news now, this morning Pope Francis is meeting with university students in Portugal as part of his visit marking the World Youth Day Catholic Festival. It comes a day after the Pope sat down with victims of clergy sexual abuse. NBC News foreign correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us now from the Portuguese capital of Lisbon. Claudio, the Pope wasted no time meeting with abuse survivors on day one of his visit. What happened at that gathering?
Hey, Joe. Well, the meeting was private. It was closed doors, as every time the Pope meets with sex abuse victims, either in the Vatican or elsewhere in the world, like here in Lisbon. All we know from a brief statement is that they spent together about half an hour with these 13 victims, and there was an atmosphere of intense listening. But of course, these were only 13 of the more than 4,800 people who say they were abused as children by the clergy since 1950. This was a shocking finding from a report that was published back in February. And that's why it was very important that the Pope will do this on the first day after he arrived here, because it's only been 6 months since that report. And this will be very important on the path of reconciliation between the Catholic Church and the Catholic Portuguese, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, Claudio, that meeting came after the Pope held a vigil service for Portugal's clergy and nuns where he addressed the church scandal. What was the Pope's main message to the congregation?
Yeah, that's right. The Pope addressed the issue right away during that speech to the bishops, deacons, and consecrated person. He went off script and he said, and I quote, that the scandals that have marred the Catholic Church call us to a humble and ongoing purification, starting with the anguished cry of the victims who must always be accepted and listened to. Of course, shortly after those words, he did meet with the victims, Joe.
And Claudio, quickly, as I mentioned, the Pope's been meeting with some university students. Tell us about that and what's planned for today.
Well, actually, the second day here in Lisbon of the Pope started with another meeting with 15 Ukrainian pilgrims who came here for World Youth Day. Now he expressed his closeness to them and to the war-torn country. And then he went to see the students at the Catholic University not far away from Lisbon. But these are only a handful of people who came here, the hundreds of thousands of young pilgrims who came to Lisbon for World Youth Day, the biggest or the world's biggest Catholic festival. Hundreds of thousands of people have arrived here days ago. You can see some of them right behind me. And the big day is today. They will be welcomed by the Pope, the guy who invited them tonight. Well, 400,000 have already registered for the events, but the authorities here say that there could be as many as 1 million young pilgrims, guys.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, Claudio, thank you so much.
Let's stay on international news now. The U.S. has ordered a partial evacuation of its embassy in Niger as the political unrest there grows.
NBC News foreign correspondent Raf Sanchez joins us with that and other world news. Raf, good morning.
Joe, Savannah, good morning. Yeah, the U.S. is now saying it will partly evacuate its embassy in Niger following last week's coup. But at this point, there's no plan for a large-scale evacuation of American citizens. The move comes after the French embassy was attacked by protesters. The U.S. and Niger's West African neighbors are trying to pressure coup leaders to restore democracy. In Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his wife Sophie have announced they are separating after 18 years of marriage. The couple have 3 children and said, "We remain a close family with deep love and respect for each other, for everything we have built and will continue to build." And finally, in Mexico, una torta grande, cooks at a festival in Mexico City are hoping to break the world record for the longest torta sandwich. Filled with meat, vegetables, and cheese, it measures 246 feet, which is 4 feet longer than the record set at the same festival last year. Guys, that kind of puts our foot-long subs to shame.
Yeah, no kidding. I like the total joy when they close the top.
We've had a lot of big sandwich news lately. I don't know if you we had a big bologna sandwich last week. It's like a trend right now.
We did
big sandwiches. Right.
Thanks, Rob. We said a bunch of bologna. Thanks, Rob. Coming up, diabetes drugs commonly used for weight loss are now at the center of a lawsuit. We'll break down the claims that the meds can cause serious internal injuries.
And overcapacity. Animal shelters across the country seeing an alarming spike in abandoned pets. This is Morning News Now.
We're back now with a disturbing and sad incident. A pet owner seen abandoning their dog in a park before speeding away. This comes as the amount of returned animals in shelters spikes, along with pet care costs. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock reports.
It's the heartbreaking scene caught on surveillance camera. A driver speeding off as they leave their bulldog abandoned in a Miami park. The bulldog, Sunflower, left wandering around the park before an animal rescuer brought her to a local shelter.
I wish they would have reached out for help, and maybe they did and they hit 1,000 dead ends, but keep reaching out. Don't just dump a dog out on the street in a park.
Miami police are looking for the owner as shelters in South Florida see a spike in owners giving up their pets.
We are facing a 60% increase in owner surrenders across shelters and rescues.
While the pandemic saw 23 million Americans adopt a pet, rising costs are forcing some families to make difficult decisions. In just the last year, prices for pet food has jumped 15%. Liliana Gomez is one of the veterinarians seeing the effects firsthand.
It's, do you feed yourself or do you feed your pet? And when it comes to that, like, it really is like, what do you do?
At her care center, they have double the typical amount of both dogs and cats. The situation growing so crowded, staff are forced to pile crates in offices to make more room.
We are absolutely overpopulated, looking to find places all over the shelter where we can stick animals because there's so many of them.
Other major cities like Dallas and San Francisco reporting shelters well over capacity.
We have about 814 animals currently in care in the shelter. Our capacity is less than half of that, honestly. We're way over capacity.
As for Sunflower the bulldog, she's going through medical evaluations. Her rescuers hoping she can be adopted in a new home. Sam Brock, NBC News, Miami.
Country music star Craig Morgan is trading in his blue jeans and guitar strings for a new kind of uniform. Despite nearly 2 decades of service before his rise to stardom, Morgan is now re-enlisting in the U.S. Army. NBC News correspondent Julie Sirkin has the story.
Haven't sang in uniform in a long time.
It's a decision 2 decades in the making. Country music star Craig Morgan surprising fans Saturday night. At 59 years old, he's re-enlisting in the U.S. Army.
Yeah, he gets a round of applause for that. He's a hell of a patriot.
On stage at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee, Morgan becoming the first to commission at the historic home of country music.
Why are you choosing to do that after this successful music career that you've built and a lot on your plate?
So it was very difficult to feel like that I had quit something that I didn't want to quit.
Before he became a touring musician, Morgan served tours in Panama and Korea with the Airborne, all part of a military career that spanned 17 years, 3 short of what he needed to retire.
I feel like an 18-year-old kid, I can tell you. Excited, nervous, but I'm humbled for the opportunity.
He spoke to us while crisscrossing the country, performing hits from his latest album, inspired by his time in the military. Second to his personal goals, Morgan has a bigger purpose in putting the uniform back on.
So help me God.
So help me God.
At a time when the military is on track to miss recruiting goals across 3 branches.
If a guy like me, who has the career that I do, can go in and participate in the Army Reserves, anybody can do it.
He says those who have second thoughts about service due to political disagreements need to put all of that aside.
You know, I might not agree with everything this administration does, but I still go do my job and be all I can be so that I can be all I can be for everyone else.
Now, the award-winning country star ready to perform his encore of service.
Our thanks to Julie Sirkin for that story. Morgan will be assigned to Redstone Arsenal Base in Alabama. He'll be stationed there 2 days out of every month.
Pretty amazing.
And a new lawsuit is alleging that some diabetes drugs, which have become popular for their weight loss effects, are causing stomach paralysis in some users.
That's right. Ozempic, of course, you've heard of it. That's one of the drugs mentioned in this lawsuit. NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar joins us now on this. Hi, Doctor. Good morning. So let's talk about these allegations. The lawsuit claims that these drugs are causing, am I saying this right, gastroparesis, also known as delayed gastric emptying. What does that mean?
So this is a known side effect of the medications. It's actually the way they can work to help with weight loss. Gastroparesis, or delayed gastric emptying, basically means that there's a slowing down of how quickly the food is moving from your stomach to the early part of the small intestine. What does that mean? It means that the food is sitting in your stomach for longer, makes you feel full more quickly, and you eat less. So again, it's a side effect, if you will, but it's also partly the mechanism of action of how people can lose weight on these medications.
So the labels, when they warn people, may not necessarily say gastroparesis, but they do say delays gastric emptying. Is that legit in your mind?
Yeah, You know, it's one of those things, again, with medications where GI side effects are the number one, right? I mean, they have a spotlight on them, on these medications. They can cause nausea, vomiting, constipation, diarrhea, and delayed gastric emptying. And what I think is happening is that in certain people, in certain cases, those symptoms can be so severe that they can end up requiring medical attention, whether it's because of dehydration or incessant vomiting. Again, this is an allegation. We don't know the details of the case. The person in the lawsuit has not actually formally been diagnosed with gastroparesis. That's probably all going to come out in the trial.
I feel like there was sort of this like wave of information with Ozempic and Wegovy and all these types of drugs that felt like really good news and people are loving it and oh my gosh, I lost so much weight. That's what I've been trying to do my whole life.
Yes.
And now it's been followed by a lot of different news of all these side effects and stuff. Like, just what do you think for somebody who's been thinking about this? Is it worth it? Should they be concerned?
In any discussion with your doctor about whether to take a medication, it's always a conversation about risk versus benefit. Probably for the vast majority of people who require these medicines to treat overweight, obesity, and type 2 diabetes, the benefit will outweigh the risk. But there is always risk associated with medications. And again, I think this is shining a bit of a spotlight on the potential for more severe GI side effects in a subset of patients.
So if you do have gastroparesis,
yes.
Is it easily treatable or is it a bit of a challenge?
Well, you know, if it's medication induced, obviously stopping the medication should resolve that, but it should be noted that diabetes is the #1 cause of gastroparesis. So there's already an underlying predisposition in a lot of these patients, as well as certain medical conditions and medications that can also cause it. So it's not just one thing, multifactorial, as is a lot of things in medicine.
I feel like it's also like almost getting forgotten that there are people who actually really need this for something like diabetes, right? That could be life-saving versus just this weight loss.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, this class of drug has been, for type 2 diabetes, I think for 15 years, we've had data and over 9 million patient years of experience. The FDA, whenever a drug is approved, does a lot of post-marketing surveillance to assess for any potential side effects and signals that could emerge, not in clinical trials, but later when millions of patients are actually using the medication. They're aware of this. And if they think that it's a real issue that patients are getting that sick, it'll probably get another label, sort of what we call a black box, that in certain cases can cause more severe symptoms. But I think legally, they've covered themselves because they've actually said that delayed gastric emptying is a known side effect of these drugs.
Good point. Dr. Azar, good to talk to you. Important one. Coming up, a critical water source now running low. We will take you to the Colorado River Basin, where a new study is raising more concerns about climate change.
And changes in the workplace. Researchers say employees are getting older. We're going to break down what's behind the trend. You're watching Morning News Now. We're back now with some concerning climate news from the West Coast. A new study finds that the Colorado River Basin has lost an alarming amount of water, 10 trillion gallons, because of climate change and rising temperatures.
NBC News national correspondent Miguel Almaguer has more on who's being impacted and what this could mean.
As one of the nation's most precious resources continues to dwindle, a new study confirms what researchers long feared. Over a period of 21 years, the vital Colorado River Basin has lost 10 trillion gallons of water due to warming temperatures. The staggering amount is enough to fill Lake Mead, the nation's largest reservoir, which is dangerously depleted.
How concerned are you by what you've seen?
I would say that this is a wake-up call in terms of climate change's impacts on water availability from the Colorado Basin.
With human-caused climate change, greenhouse gases pushing temperatures up, the Colorado River has seen a 10% decrease in flow, compounding an existing emergency, a lack of water for the West.
Do you think this crisis is only going to worsen?
I think in the long term, yes.
Snaking through 7 western states, the overtaxed river provides drinking water and irrigation to 40 million people. The evaporating water supply could mean more restrictions and inflated costs for farmers passed along to Americans across the country.
I think it's difficult for people to accept the fact that we just don't have the ability to extract more water out of the system. We're going to have to reduce our use.
Even after a winter of record rain, researchers say the deluge isn't enough to reverse 2 decades of climbing temperatures. As the snowpack evaporates and water levels drop, concern is rising along the Colorado. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
Well, now let's get to some money news, starting with a not-so-great second quarter report from Anheuser-Busch.
CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other financial headlines. Silvana, good morning.
Joseph, Anna, good morning. Yeah, so Anheuser-Busch InBev reporting a massive drop in second quarter profits. Sales of Bud Light dove in the U.S. amid conservative backlash to the brand's collaboration with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. The world's biggest brewer says U.S. revenue dropped more than 10%. Those struggles offsetting an otherwise strong quarter for AB InBev as it managed to pass on price increases to customers. Apple says the high-yield savings account it offers with Goldman Sachs has topped $10 billion in customer deposits since launching in April. Apple Card users can earn an annual yield of 4.15% on their savings accounts. Apple says nearly all cardholders have chosen to have their cashback rewards automatically sent to their account. They can also deposit funds through their linked bank accounts or Apple Cash. And you can now get paid to be a pizza influencer. Slice, that's the food ordering app launched in 2010, is looking for a fellow pizza enthusiast to make 3 TikTok videos and Instagram Reels a week that celebrate pizza and pizzerias. The job posting says the role will be expected to test and develop content to ensure it resonates with Slice's audience. Applicants can make anywhere between $85,000 and $110,000 with health benefits and a weekly pizza stipend. You can apply for the job at slice.careers, guys. I am already applying.
That is pretty cool.
Health benefits plus a pizza stipend.
Yeah. I mean, you probably need the health benefits, yeah.
And like salary was not nothing.
Right?
I mean,
It's pretty good.
I also just really don't like when our CNBC Money Minute includes pictures of food. I mean, I think about all day, but thanks so much, Silvana.
Sorry. You're welcome.
All right, well, with the recent high inflation and the expensive cost of living that's come with it, people are staying in the workforce longer and workers are getting older.
In fact, a new study finds that by 2030, just 7 years from now, 150 million jobs will shift to workers who are 55 and older. Andrew Schwadell joins us now. He is a partner at Bain & Company who conducted the study. He's also a co-chair of its think tank. Andrew, good morning. Good to have you with us. So we're not just seeing this shift because workers are retiring later. Your study also found fewer young people are actually entering the workforce. What's behind that trend?
Great. Well, thanks for having me. Good to be here today. Yeah, I mean, at the highest level, there's a demographic story here that's playing out in the U.S. and most other developed and a lot of emerging markets in the world as well. We have an aging population, and older people are a larger share of the population and a larger share of the workforce. With younger people, we've been seeing for several decades now people staying in school longer. So I think that's a big part of it as the premium to education rises. In the U.S., we've also offshored and outsourced and automated a lot of jobs that used to be taken by younger people without higher education. But certainly the major driver here is just the overall aging of the population.
Which countries are leading the charge here when it comes to an older workforce? You mentioned these developed nations, emerging economies, but what's that look like?
Yeah, so we found that about 150 million workers or jobs will shift to older workers by 2030. Japan is clearly at the forefront of that. Almost 40% of the workforce there is already over 55. Many countries in Western Europe are going to be over 30%. So Italy, Germany in the high 20s, and the U.S. is there as well. But this is not just countries in U.S. and Europe. China is the other obvious large one where millions and millions of workers will be shifting to those older age segments.
So, Andrew, I guess the big question is this going to be the new normal? We've seen countries like France make headlines lately, raising the retirement age. Lots of protest in response to that. So is the concept of retirement age maybe going to become a thing of the past?
I would say it's already been blurring. I mean, you're right. I mean, they've had the riots in France. The UK has struggled to raise the retirement age. In Japan, many workers leave at 60 and then get rehired. But we've seen the boundaries between being fully employed and retired blurring for many years. So many older people we found do very much want to work, but they may want more flexibility. more part-time work, and that sort of thing. So I do think we will see greater variety in the types of jobs. In some sense, the experiment that COVID forced on us with working from home and remote work models helps play into that. And I think we'll see continued increases in different ways of working to accommodate more diverse needs of different groups of people, including older workers.
Andrew, you just touched on this, but I was wondering, because we kind of set it up with inflation and how things have been more expensive, which seems like a negative reason. But then you said, like, some people do want to do this. They do want part-time work. How do people feel about this shift, about being in that older group of people who is still part of the workforce?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the core of our study was a big multi-year effort to look at, we talked to 40,000 workers across 20 countries, and it was all about motivations. You know, why do people of all ages work? And what really gets them energized and excited about that. And, you know, we found 6 different types of workers based on those motivations, and they change over time. So for most people, up to about age 55, not surprisingly, the number one reason why people work is compensation. You know, they work to make money. But that's just one of many factors. They also want connections at work. They want flexibility, security, learning and growth. Around age 55 or 60, for the first time, having interesting work becomes the most important motivation, even ahead of compensation. So we do see those reasons change a little bit, and we see the profile and types of workers shift over time, where with older workers, we get more of what we call givers, people who are looking to motivate and help other people, and artisans, people who really want expertise and mastery of their craft.
Interesting. All right, Andrew Schwadel, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for having me.
Coming up on Morning News Now, summer fun for everyone.
Up next, how some summer camps for kids are working to be more inclusive for the LGBTQ+ community. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you are passionate about playing the card game Uno and you're looking for a new job, well, then we have some good news for you. The Mattel company is looking for what they're calling a chief Uno player. What does a chief Uno player do? Well, according to the job description, you'd be required to create social media content and, get this, engage with and play with strangers on the streets of New York City. If you're interested, in order to apply, you have to create a TikTok video answering Uno's interview questions. The position will help promote a new version of the game called Uno Quattro. The job lasts for 4 weeks and pays $17,000, which is paid in weekly installments of $4,444 to match the Uno Quattro theme.
I'm so bad at math, so I don't know, like, $17K over 4 weeks, how that compares to between 85 and 110 to be a pizza
To be a
influencer.
pizza person, but there's so many amazing job opportunities.
There really are,
now.
and I do love Uno, but I think
Exactly.
I love pizza more, personally.
Yeah, and maybe if you're 55 and older, you can apply for these jobs. All right, we're bringing it all together here this morning.
Finally, this hour, for many kids, summer camp is a staple of childhood, a time to make new friends, connect with nature maybe, and make lasting memories.
Well, now some camps are expanding that opportunity in a really cool way, bringing together campers from the LGBTQ+ community to engage in community and some inclusive fun. NBC News correspondent Stephen Romo reports from camp.
For many kids, camp helps add some sparkle to their summers.
Our litters a little chunkier.
At New Country Pride Camp, that sparkle is a lot more literal. The 14th Street Y and New Country Day Camp are in the middle of Pride Camp. Now, in its 3rd year, the program is specifically aimed at serving LGBTQ+ kids and children of people in those communities. These Pride campers from across the New York City area have come for a taste of typical summer fun.
Everybody here is part of the LGBTQ community, so you have a lot of people that are just like you.
From my experience, when a bunch of people in the same community gather together, it's so much easier to talk to them and make friends.
Camp staples like swimming, rock climbing, and arts and crafts. But the campers also get some more pride-centric activities, all with a focus on inclusivity and self-expression.
I did a lot. I'm a battle-worn, zombified vampire.
And LGBTQ+ counselors are also on hand. They help show the kids the joy and connection of being in the queer community.
I have these trans kids coming to me and saying, are kids going to use my pronouns in middle school? And it's tough to see them recognize that school is not going to be the same as Pride Camp.
If this camp existed when I was younger, I would be a very different person. I think my internalized homophobia would be much less.
One of the realities still today about being an LGBTQ+ kid is a sense of isolation. When kids are here at Pride Camp, they are accepted and they are part of the group. And the hope is they'll be able to take that sense of belonging outside of these campgrounds.
Fewer than 40% of LGBTQ youth have found their home to be LGBTQ affirming, and just over half, around 54%, found their school to be affirming. So that tells me that we have a lot of room for growth.
While some of these kids at Pride Camp do see it as pretty much like any other day camp. Well, do you think you'll want to come back to Pride Camp next year?
Yeah.
To others, it's a much needed place where they're able to have fun and fully be themselves.
It makes me feel like there are people who know about this, and it's not just a thing I made up.
Stephen Romo, NBC News.
What an amazing opportunity for those kids. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now. Stay with us. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, historic arraignment. Just hours from now, former President Donald Trump will face a federal judge again. This time he'll be in D.C., and this time he'll be formally charged with 4 felony counts in what prosecutors allege was a criminal scheme to overturn the 2020 election. Well, the latest on the charges against him and the security preparations underway this morning. Plus, how this new indictment is dividing the Republican field following a new blistering condemnation from Trump's former vice president. Also this morning, growing crisis. Hundreds of migrants are forced to sleep on the sidewalks outside of a New York processing center, waiting for shelter that the city says it does not have. We're getting rare access inside a so-called respite center as New York experiences a record number of asylum seekers arriving in the city. Plus, pain at the pump. Drivers around the country are in for a headache as the price of gas grows. The national average now the highest we've seen in 9 months. We're going to dig into this rise and just how long it could last. And countdown to kickoff. Get your snacks and drinks ready. Football is back as the Cleveland Browns take on the New York Jets in the Hall of Fame game. We are previewing all the gridiron action as fans get their first look at the new season. You see Aaron Rodgers there in a Jets uniform. That already a startling sight for so many.
Even I am in the know on that. Yes.
Sounds good. We'll get to there in a little bit. We're going to begin this hour in Washington, of course, where they're preparing for the arrival of former President Donald Trump to face charges in federal court today.
Trump will be arraigned on 4 charges stemming from the months-long grand jury investigation into alleged election interference. Law enforcement officials are already ramping up security for the former president's arrival. NBC News correspondent Garrett Hake has more on what we can expect from today's hearing.
This 4 o'clock arraignment hearing today should be short. Only one defendant, Donald Trump, expected to plead not guilty to the new charges, by far the most serious of the dozens he now faces.
Donald Trump set to face a federal judge today and the 4 new felony counts filed against him for his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The former president thanking his supporters for standing by him in the face of what he's slamming as an unprecedented indictment for what prosecutors describe as a criminal scheme to hang on to power after the last election. Special counsel Jack Smith says he wants to see a trial as soon as possible. But with the rapidly approaching election, Mr. Trump's attorneys indicating their defense will rely on the First Amendment.
It's the first time that a sitting president is attacking a political opponent on First Amendment grounds and basically making a criminal to state your position and to engage in political advocacy.
I've got to give you a little time out on that one because, of course,
we've never seen that before.
Well, the indictment specifically says that the president has a First Amendment right to speech.
Yes.
He even has a First Amendment right to lie. It says it right here.
Absolutely.
This indictment is criminalizing conduct, not speech.
No, it's criminalizing speech for this reason. What the president saw in the 2020 election was all these irregularities going on. He had every right to comment on that.
Overnight, Mr. Trump's former Attorney General, Bill Barr, who has been critical of the former president since leaving office, saying the First Amendment will not protect the former president, but adding that he believes Mr. Trump knew he lost the election.
At first, I wasn't sure, but I have come to believe that he knew well that he had lost the election.
Central to the plot outlined by prosecutors was an alleged effort by Mr. Trump and his co-conspirators, including attorneys Rudy Giuliani and John Eastman, to pressure Vice President Mike Pence to set aside the lawful vote count on January 6th, which Pence repeatedly refused to do.
I dismissed it out of hand. But sadly, the president was surrounded by a group of crackpot lawyers that kept telling him what his itching ears wanted to hear.
Pence now challenging his former boss for the 2024 GOP nomination. Mr. Trump firing back on social media, saying he feels badly for Pence, suggesting his campaign has struggled because, quote, he didn't fight against election fraud. Other rivals largely standing by the GOP frontrunner, including Florida's Ron DeSantis, who says Mr. Trump can't get a fair trial in overwhelmingly Democratic Washington, D.C.
A D.C. jury would indict a ham sandwich and convict a ham sandwich if it was a Republican ham sandwich.
A D.C. jury would be just the most recent and most pressing of Mr. Trump's many legal troubles. The former president now on track to face at least 3 different trials in 3 different jurisdictions in an election year.
All right, Garrett, thank you so much. Well, NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalas is here with us now. Danny, I know you love the ham sandwich reference, but let's get into this morning.
I want an embargo on the ham sandwich reference. I want a moratorium against it. It's over.
Okay, so I think we know a lot of what to expect today in terms of what it might look like and that type of thing. But what about any type of conditions that we could see set here on the former president?
I don't see any serious conditions set. Number one, the Bail Reform Act really sets a lot of limitations. As a general rule of thumb, it doesn't involve guns, doesn't involve drugs, doesn't involve threats. A case like this, which is really like a white-collar type case, even though there were threats to the institutions, this is the kind of case where the defendant should be out on bail pending trial. You can ask for conditions. Those are largely up to the judge, but I don't see Jack Smith being too hard on this. He's not going to look for any kind of like house arrest. He wouldn't get it. So I think we're going to see the same conditions. They're going to continue what he's already on and then just move along to trial. Trump continues to do whatever he does because you don't want to be Jack Smith and say, hey, I'm going to demand house arrest even though I'm not entitled to it. And then you may affect the campaign.
So once this arraignment is over, the defense team will have access to information that has been collected by investigators. What exactly are they going to be looking for here?
Yeah, what happens is when the government turns over discovery, they'll back up a Brinks truck of just terabytes of data in the form of, well, they have file transfer systems, but there's going to be a ton of documents and a ton of data. The modern federal criminal case, the discovery has just exponentially grown because now evidence takes the form of emails, text messages, audio, video. I mean, most of a federal criminal case is just going through all the discovery like a needle in a haystack that you're looking for. And sometimes it's one document out of literally hundreds of thousands that you're trying to find.
So, but the special counsel Jack Smith has called for this speedy trial. I mean, with so much to go through, though, what do you think about the timeline?
I'm a defense attorney. Obviously, I'm biased. But look, this is one of those situations where the Speedy Trial Act, which is designed to protect the defendant, really helps the government, the federal government. And that's in these kinds of cases where Jack Smith has devoted dozens of investigators and U.S. attorneys, government attorneys to this investigation. By the time they indict it, I expect they could go to trial tomorrow. They just need to put exhibit tabs on all the documents. They're ready to go. The defense, meanwhile, hasn't seen a stitch of discovery. Speedy trial is great when the government, the prosecution, and the defense are on the same pace. In other words, a crime happens, police arrest, they throw the guy in jail, and the guy says, look, you got to put up or shut up. Bring this case to trial or else let me out. That's where speedy trial helps the defendant. In a case like this, where the government has all the cards and the defense hasn't even seen the cards yet, it really benefits the prosecution. That's why, no surprise, you saw Jack Smith say, I want a speedy trial here. Well, it's not really yours to demand, but you'll probably get it because we're in federal court.
I'm curious. We have 3 criminal cases right now, possibly a 4th one in Georgia coming. How are they going to coordinate all of these trials? Will there be communication between the different jurisdictions? Do we have any idea how this is going to work as far as coordinating it all?
Normally, with a defendant that you've never heard of, that becomes a mess. And it becomes a bigger mess if the defendant is in custody. But those courts, even the federal courts, have no obligation to communicate with each other or demand that the other take it to trial first. They will proceed independently. And while I'm sure there might be some phone calls between the prosecutors, maybe not actually, these cases will go when each individual judge decides they will go. Good rule of thumb, state court cases take a lot longer to get to trial than federal cases, but take your rule of thumb and throw it out the window because there's going to be special treatment for this very special defendant. To wit, for example, you have to shut down an entire courthouse just to get him in for an arraignment. So That'll give you an idea. I'll take the rule book, throw it out the window. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to be very unique here.
Danny, in this latest indictment, what do you think at this point about what we've heard a little bit like in that Today Show interview with Savannah Guthrie about the potential defense that we see shaping up, knowing that the Trump team has not yet seen all this evidence, as you say, in this discovery phase? But what do you think just about what we're hearing in terms of freedom of speech?
On the one hand, the government did a good job of showing all the people that told Donald Trump he was wrong. And the First Amendment is not an absolute defense. There are plenty of things that are speech alone that violate the First Amendment. Threats, for example, picking up the phone and calling the Georgia Secretary of State and suggesting that he's committing a crime. If you and I did it, it would mean nothing. But if you are the head of the executive branch and the law enforcement branch of the U.S. government, then that could arguably be a threat. And even those words, with no accompanying conduct, could be criminalized. So the First Amendment has never been an absolute defense to say whatever you want. Yes, it's true you can lie, but it's also true you can't lie if that lie accompanies a fraud.
Danny Savalas, as always, we appreciate you. Thanks for being here and kicking us off.
And we're getting more reaction to Trump's latest indictment. NBC News correspondent Noah Pransky spoke with Colorado Governor Jared Polis. The Democratic governor shared his advice for the rest of his party. Take a listen.
And like any suspect, he's innocent until proven guilty. There's a lot of smoke there. Obviously, the prosecutors chose to move forward, believing they can get a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt with the jury of his peers. But like anybody, you're innocent until proven guilty, and we need to let the justice system play out.
I suspect there's a lot of people in your party who would not share that exact same sentiment. What would your advice be for fellow Democrats as this process plays out?
Well, I think it's important that we acknowledge that this is not a political process. It's a legal and law enforcement process. Nobody is above the law. Just because, again, somebody was a former president, they are subject to the law just as you or I are and should be held at the same standard.
Our thanks to Noah Pransky for that interview.
Well, the focus of the migrant crisis once again is spilling into the streets of New York City. Hundreds of migrants from around the world are living on the streets outside of a Midtown Manhattan hotel that's been turned into a makeshift processing center for people seeking asylum in the U.S. This comes as city leaders say they have run out of space to house this mass influx of migrants. NBC News correspondent Ron Allen joins us now from outside the Roosevelt Hotel here in New York City, just down the street from us. Hi, Ron. Good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. Yes, this is a landmark, iconic hotel that was closed for several years, but the city reopened it a few months ago when the homeless shelters around town were filled to capacity and thousands of migrants were arriving here in the city still every day. Now, as you said, hundreds gather here each day, hoping to get a chance to apply for housing that will get them off the streets. As communities nationwide are affected by the crisis at the border, in New York, amid the pricey stores and Midtown office crowd, these men who say they came here from West Africa hope they finally reach the front of the line to apply for shelter.
I have 7 days here.
7 days you've been sleeping on the street here?
Yeah.
The crisis deepening this week, with New York's Mayor Eric Adams saying,
"There is no more room."
Adams says over the past year, a record number of asylum seekers, more than 100,000 so far, have arrived at the city's doorstep. Many of them bused from states like Texas to New York and other self-proclaimed sanctuary cities. The city's emergency management commissioner gave us rare access to a so-called respite center, what used to be a part of a prison, now temporarily housing migrants. We saw dozens of cots lined up, bathrooms, and not much else. So this place we're in now, is this adequate?
So this is not adequate. I mean, all of us, you see what's happening at the Roosevelt Hotel. That's heartbreaking for us, right? This is something that we have been fighting against for months.
The transport of migrants, just one measure that some border state governors are taking, saying the situation is untenable.
The Biden administration needs to enforce the laws already on the books that stop people from crossing illegally.
Texas recently installing a barrier of buoys in the Rio Grande River to deter crossings, a controversial move that some say puts migrants in danger and which the U.S. Justice Department has opposed. Overnight, Mexico's Ministry of Foreign Affairs saying a body of a dead person has been found stuck in the southern part of the buoys. Meanwhile, back in New York, the Roosevelt's hundreds of rooms are filled, with priority given to families with children, like this woman who says she arrived here from Venezuela 15 days ago. Telling us she's grateful to be off the streets. New York City officials say there are plans in place to create more shelter space, including tent-covered facilities in other iconic places around the city, perhaps like Central Park, they mentioned. They say, given the situation here, everything is on the table, with some 500 migrants arriving in the city still every day. Savannah?
All right, Ron Allen, thank you so much.
Now to something you have likely noticed at the gas pump. Prices are on the rise again. AAA says the average price for a gallon of regular is now $3.82. That's the highest we've seen in 9 months. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock has more on why prices are going up and how long it might last.
Joe and Savannah, good morning. Familiarity for many people is a good thing, but not when it comes to gas prices going up again. And you might be wondering, what's going on here? It's the middle of the summer. A lot of families taking road trips and vacations. You might think it's demand pushing this trend. In fact, demand has actually dipped. What's really going on, the biggest factor right now, record-breaking temperatures and how they're affecting oil refineries. So many of them are located in the South, states like Texas and Louisiana. They are designed ideally to operate up to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. But this heat wave that we've been talking so much about has exceeded that threshold. It's become dangerous. So the refineries have scaled back their production. This is what a national snapshot looks like right now of gas prices. It's $3.82 for the country. A week ago, that was $3.71. A month ago, that was $3.53. So more than a quarter in just a month. That is a dramatic difference. In terms of the splits nationally, California has the most expensive gas, followed by Washington. California is the only state above $5 a gallon. On the other side of the equation, you have states here in the South, like Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi, that are between $3.30 and $3.45 a gallon. The state of Florida has actually seen the largest monthly increase, 54 cents a gallon. So we're feeling it here as well. And in terms of outlook moving forward, one of the biggest X factors is going to be the hurricane season. The storm is the largest threat right now to take more refineries offline. If that doesn't happen, and if temperatures continue to come back down, at least scale back a little bit as the summer wears on and we get into the fall, that would provide at least some relief for drivers. Here in the Florida Keys, Sam Brock, NBC News. Guys, let me send it back to you.
All right, Sam, thanks so much. Speaking of the heat, across the country, heat alerts still remain in effect.
Yeah, might not be good news for that gas news. Let's get a closer look at these temperatures with Angie Lastman. Hey, Angie.
Hey there, guys. No surprise here. 50 million people still under these heat alerts. As we look to parts of the South and the Southwest, they remain. We're talking heat advisories, heat watches, and, of course, excessive heat warnings. And temperatures in these same areas that dealt with it really for the extended period are going to continue to deal with it today. 102 for Houston, flirting with a potential record in that city. We'll see El Paso head to 103. Phoenix is expected to hit 112 this afternoon. And if you're looking ahead to your Friday, it doesn't get a whole lot better. El Paso goes to 106. That'll beat the previous record, or the current record, I should say, for tomorrow of 103. Tucson, 110 you're expected to hit. And Dallas is expected to see a high of 105 tomorrow. So really warm temperatures still centered across parts of the South. Milder conditions are in place for parts of the Northeast and the Midwest. We will, of course, get into those low to mid 80s in places like New York, but typical temperatures for this time of year, 90s in Cincinnati for Saturday, Sunday, and heading back into the next work week, those temperatures will start to come down. But let's talk about, of course, the month of July. We're now moved into August, but July was record setting when it comes to a lot of aspects of the weather. So let's start with the July temperature extremes. We had 23 cities hit the hottest July ever on record. That includes places like Austin, El Paso, Phoenix, no surprise there, Albuquerque on the list, Baton Rouge, and moving south towards numerous cities in the state of Florida, including Miami. When we look to those actual records for consecutive days, we broke a record in Phoenix of 30 days over 110 degrees in a row, consecutive. The old record was 19 days, so we blew past that one. Similar story in El Paso, 30 days over 110, and we did see a heat index value of 100 or higher for 29 days in Miami. So really impressive temperatures, really impressive heat, and I think a lot of folks really felt it across much of the southern tier of the country. But that's not all. We also hit a record for the month of July when it comes to storm reports. We had 110 tornado reports across the country. You look at these large hail reports, more than 1,200 of those, and then if we check out the wind damage reports, more than 5,000 of those across the country. So a really impressive month across the board, whether we're talking about severe weather or temperatures for the entire country. Now, speaking of severe severe weather. We have another day where we're going to deal with the potential to see some of those stronger storms develop and bring us some of those very same hazards. We have wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour, damaging hail, an inch or larger, all on the table. The tornado threat is low in places like Scott City, North Platte, Denver, and stretching down towards Atlanta, but it's not zero, so we'll still keep a close eye on that. Meanwhile, heavy rain worked through much of the Midwest yesterday in areas that really needed it because of the drought conditions, but still, it's leaving us with some flood concerns this morning. You can see that big batch of rain scooting a little farther to the south and east, places like Knoxville, Greenville, Louisville, waking up to some soggy conditions. And again, the flooding concerns across much of this area. We'll pick up maybe another quarter of an inch in places like St. Louis, but we've got a whole lot more rain on the way for Asheville to Atlanta, Columbia. Anywhere from 1 to 3 inches is expected, but we could see upwards of 4 inches of rain. And this system will impact us for the last day of the work week, too. We'll see some of these showers and thunderstorms, of course, through the day today, including in the Northeast. And then up and down the East Coast is going to be kind of unsettled for tomorrow. So if you have maybe some plans to hop on an airplane or anything like that, just be aware of that. That'll be around. But so will the record highs through the weekend, guys. The sizzling heat stays with us in the south, unfortunately. But if you're keeping track of the Northeast and the Midwest, nice beach day on Saturday.
Nice beach day.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
Love to see that on the graphic. Yeah.
We'll take it.
Thanks, Angie.
Thanks, Angie. Coming up, banned no more. For the first time in more than 6 decades, Cuban women are back in the boxing ring. Now we're getting an inside look at their mission to punch a spot in the 2024 Olympics.
But first, a bizarre story out of Scotland. An American who investigators say faked his own death to avoid charges is set to be extradited to the U.S., but the story only gets stranger from there. Up next.
We are back with a bizarre case about a suspected international fugitive, multiple identities, and serious criminal charges. At the center of it is a man wanted in the U.S. who's now sitting in a jail in Scotland. He says police have the wrong person. NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber brings us the story.
A Scottish judge ruling that this man, who is wanted by American prosecutors on rape charges, can be extradited to the United States.
I conclude that he is as dishonest and deceitful as he is evasive and manipulative.
He swears he is Arthur Knight, an Irish orphan, sick and in a wheelchair, unfairly thrust into an international manhunt.
I do not prefer to be called Arthur Knight. I am Arthur Knight.
But U.S. and Scottish authorities say that is an elaborate lie, and he is actually Nicholas Rossi, an international fugitive wanted on a rape charge in Utah under that name, but also known as Nicholas Alaverdian in Rhode Island. A man who thought he could fake his own death, flee the country, and create a new life to avoid prosecution, investigators say.
In a sentence, how would you describe Nicholas Rossi?
Nicholas Rossi is a pathetic character.
I am not Nicholas Alaverdi, and I do not know how to make this clear.
He stuck to his story in an interview with Dateline's Andrea Canning.
People say that's an act. Let me try to stand up. Let me try to stand up. Exactly.
Authorities say they were able to identify him by distinctive tattoos, recognized when he was in the hospital for COVID in late 2021. His identity already in the system for a previous sex crime conviction. David Leavitt was the Utah County attorney who charged Nicholas Rossi in the outstanding Utah rape case.
Are you confident this man is Nicholas Rossi?
Well, I've never met Nicholas Rossi, and I've never met Arthur Knight. What I can say is that the fingerprints match, the tattoos match. I'm confident that when we start looking at DNA, it matches, the photographs match.
In court, his lawyer saying extradition would be a violation of Rossi's human rights due to health concerns. Rossi lashing out, calling the sheriff in charge a disgrace to justice. But for those who have worked the case in Utah, they hope all of this, the upcoming extradition, will be a giant leap towards justice.
Our thanks to Ellison Barber for that story. The judge in this case ruled there is no legal barrier to extradition, but the final decision goes to the Scottish ministers. They'll ultimately decide whether he will be extradited. Well, what was once deemed a fairy tale relationship is now coming to an end. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced he and his wife are separating.
That's right. The couple was married for 18 years and they share 3 children together. Well, this morning, both Justin and Sophie are vowing to remain friends for the sake of their family. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa joins us now with the details. Hey, Emily, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. You know, you think about it. Every time Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has won Canada's highest office, his wife Sophie has been by his side. The 51-year-old world leader has said she has profoundly influenced his life as well as his politics. But now the couple, who share 3 children, all 15 and younger, say they're calling it quits.
This morning, one of the most recognized couples on the world stage turning the page on their storybook relationship after 18 years of marriage. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and wife Sophie Gregoire Trudeau writing on Instagram, "After many meaningful and difficult conversations, we have made the decision to separate." The couple have been a glamorous and prominent globe-trotting duo. Their split, unusual for a prominent political family, now drawing headlines. Gregoire Trudeau is a former TV personality and has become a powerful voice for gender equality. The two married in 2005 and share 3 children together. The pair appearing in the pages of Vogue, recounting how they first met as school children and eventually reconnected at a charity event decades later. Soon after, Trudeau says he told her, "I'm 31 years old and I've been waiting for you for 31 years. Even after ascending to the top of Canada's political ladder, the Prime Minister has not shied away from celebrating their love. Writing on social media several months ago, "There's no one I'd rather have by my side."
She was an asset and she was a political partner. Now she no longer is.
Trudeau has acknowledged ups and downs in their partnership, opening up in an interview on Canadian television in 2014.
There are times when she hates my job and she hates me for loving my job.
In a recent appearance on Meghan Markle's podcast, Gregoire Trudeau highlighted challenges that modern women and mothers face.
A little girl is not born feeling guilty for being a girl. We learn it. And that's completely unacceptable.
While public opinion of divorce has shifted, experts say separations involving public officials can be complicated.
He wants to keep everything fairly private, and he's going to try to keep this off the radar as he tries to deal with his kids and kind of navigate through what will be a difficult time for him personally.
And it's not clear what led to the couple's separation, but they have appeared in public together less often recently. The Prime Minister's office says they remain a close family and people can expect to often see the family together, including next week when they'll all go on vacation. In the meantime, the Trudeaus understandably asking for privacy.
All right. Always tough to go through this.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thanks, Emily.
More international news now. Powerful storms are slamming parts of China and Japan.
NBC News foreign correspondent Raf Sanchez is back with us with the latest on that, as well as some other headlines from around the world. Hey, Raf.
Hey, Savannah. Hey, Joe. Yeah, Beijing has been slammed with its heaviest rainfall in 140 years, according to local meteorologists. The intense downpour saw 29 inches of rain falling on the Chinese capital between Saturday and Wednesday. Meanwhile, southern Japan has also been battered by an intense typhoon. In Somalia, the sports ministry is apologizing after sending a non-athlete to compete in the World University Games. Video of the woman went viral after she struggled against real sprinters in the 100 meters race. It ultimately took her 21 seconds to complete, about twice as long as the other athletes. And finally, a zoo in Britain is seeing double after the birth of twin red pandas. Whipsnade Zoo says it's ecstatic because red pandas are endangered, and so these newborns offer double hope for the species. We don't yet know the sex of the babies, and they haven't yet been named. But guys, officials are confirming these are real bears and not just children in bear suits, because I know there's been some controversy about that this week.
Yeah. We're questioning the existence of all zoo animals now.
I think I'm sold, though. That other one is a real bear.
It's a bear.
But it was confusing. I get it.
All right, thanks, Raph. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up, we are following a disturbing story out of the West Coast this morning.
Federal investigators say a man kidnapped a woman and held her in a cinder block cell. How she was able to get out and the concern that there could be even more victims. That is up next. Welcome back. Well, authorities in Oregon are investigating a man who they say posed as a police officer, kidnapped a woman, and then locked her in a makeshift cell at his home. Well, luckily and amazingly, the woman escaped and managed to alert police, who eventually tracked him down. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin joins us now with more on this totally disturbing story. Hi, Aaron. Good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. The FBI says that this case is especially alarming, even to the most seasoned of federal investigators, adding they have reason to believe there may be even more victims. This morning, the FBI making a nationwide appeal for help, identifying any potential victims of this man, 29-year-old suspect Negasi Zuberi.
The disturbing evidence uncovered to date points to an individual's ongoing and escalating pattern of violence targeting women.
On Wednesday, authorities released these chilling photos of a makeshift cell they say Zuberi used to shackle a woman he allegedly kidnapped and sexually assaulted. Authorities say Zuberi's alleged victim escaped hours after being locked in the cinder block cell by punching her way through this metal screen door, leaving her hands bloodied.
Then she ran out into public, flagged down the first vehicle she could find. She knew something bad was going to happen to her.
According to the criminal complaint, Zuberi kidnapped the woman in mid-July after hiring her as a prostitute in Seattle. The court documents say he claimed to be an undercover police officer, even showing her a badge and placing her in handcuffs and leg irons before driving her 450 miles to his residence in Klamath Falls, Oregon. That's where the FBI says it recovered a series of chilling notes, including one called Operation Takeover that had bullet points including leave phone at home and make sure they don't have a bunch of people in their life. You don't want any type of investigation. A day after the kidnapping and the victim's escape, Zuberi was arrested in Reno, Nevada. The investigation now spanning at least 12 states, where authorities say Zuberi has previously lived using different aliases.
I want to thank the brave women who fought for their lives. Now it is our turn to take their burden and fight for them.
Authorities are stressing they are in the very early stages of this investigation and again believe there could be more victims. They allege Zuberi used a variety of methods to control them, including drugging their drinks and impersonating law enforcement, and that some of the encounters may have been filmed. Zuberi is facing a slew of charges, including interstate kidnapping and false imprisonment. He has not entered a plea and was assigned a temporary lawyer who had no comment.
It's just incredible, again, that she escaped, and I understand authorities also believe she could be helping other women by having this stop now. Aaron, thank you so much.
Now to Cuba, where women are finally getting a chance to represent their country in boxing competitions for the first time in 6 decades. Cuba's previous ban on females in the sport prevented many women from pursuing their dream, but now they've got their eyes on the Olympic stage. NBC News reporter Ed Augustin reports from Cuba.
Eliani de la Caridad Garcia was over the moon when she heard the news.
Lo que hice fue saltar de alegría, abrazar a la niña, abrazar a mi abuela, a la familia, de que entonces ella podía ser una boxeadora.
This athlete could barely believe the news.
Me llamaron por teléfono, me dijeron, aprobaron el boxeo, y yo dije, bueno, porque ya yo como que, no sé, como que ya había pasado tanto tiempo y no creía que fuera, porque muchas veces habían dicho que sí.
Cuba, known as a boxing powerhouse, finally authorizing women's boxing. The small island nation has punched above its weight at the Olympics. In the men's category, Cuba is the second country with the most gold medals after the US. But since the 1959 Cuban Revolution, the country has dominated the sport at the Games. But though women have been able to box in the Olympics since 2012, Cuban women had been excluded. The island's boxing federation citing safety concerns.
Querían saber realmente si el boxeo no afectaba a la mujer como para, no sé, para tener hijos.
But many in today's team think the ban was patronizing.
Claro que era injusto, súper injusto, como ya le decía. Las mujeres tenemos los mismos derechos de los hombres. Incluso hay mujeres albañiles, hay mujeres judocas, taekwondocas, hay mujeres en pesa, en lucha, y por qué no también boxeadoras, por supuesto.
With the ban lifted last December, the team is finally out of the starting blocks. And last month, taking a silver and 2 bronzes in the Central American and Caribbean Games held in El Salvador. The goal now, to qualify for next year's Paris Olympics. But given some on the team only put on boxing gloves for the first time last year, just qualifying for the Games will be the fight of their lives.
El boxeo en otro país ha comenzado sin una base sólida. Es decir, que no hay una fortaleza técnica para pensar en ese resultado de inmediato.
But that won't stop them giving their all.
El sueño de todo atleta es llegar a la Olimpiada. Mi sueño es ese, estar en lo más alto del podio.
Thanks to Ed Augustin for that report. The president of Cuba's Boxing Federation says his goal is to make sure that boxing is practiced massively by women who are motivated to take up the sport. Coming up, we are just hours away from kickoff to the unofficial start of the NFL preseason.
The New York Jets and Cleveland Browns square off in the Hall of Fame game tonight, giving football-starved fans their first taste of gridiron action in months. We're previewing what to watch for next.
New this morning, Lizzo is speaking out after 3 of her former dancers filed a lawsuit against her earlier this week. Here's part of what the singer posted on Instagram. Usually I choose not to respond to false allegations, but these are as unbelievable as they sound and too outrageous to not be addressed. These sensationalized stories are coming from former employees who have already publicly admitted that they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional. Tuesday, 3 former dancers filed a lawsuit against Lizzo, alleging they were weight shamed and that the singer sexually harassed them and created a hostile work environment. Now to some financial news. Your future tax returns could be paperless.
CNBC's Silvana Henao is back with that and other money headlines. Hey, Silvana.
Hey, Savannah. Hey, Joe. Yeah, so the IRS wants to do away with paper tax returns. The agency announcing a new program which will let taxpayers submit common tax forms and respond to notices online by the 2024 filing season. The IRS aims to shift to fully paperless processing of all tax returns by 2025. And it says the new initiative will cut processing times in half and speed up returns by several weeks while eliminating up to 200 million pieces of paper per year. Meanwhile, Amazon is revamping its grocery business. It's now offering delivery service to customers who aren't Prime members. The initial rollout is only available in a few cities, including Boston, Phoenix, Dallas, and San Francisco. Non-Prime members will pay $13.95 for orders under $50, which is $4 more than Prime members pay for the same size order. Deliveries for orders between $50 and $100 will cost $10.95 and $7.95 for anything over $100. Pickup orders are free in select metro areas. And Nintendo reporting a big jump in quarterly profits thanks to the success of the Super Mario Bros. Movie and the new Zelda video game. The film has grossed $1.3 billion at the worldwide box office. Nintendo also seeing strong demand for the Switch console as it sold nearly 4 million devices. The company has been pushing the idea of having several Switch consoles in homes with family members, each having one to play together, guys.
That's a smart strategy. Like,
Right?
yeah, you all need one. You all need to have your
Every
own.
single one, exactly.
Yeah, 52% revenue surge is wild.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
It really is, yeah.
Savannah, thank you. It may be only the beginning of August, but the good news is that football is back.
Yeah, believe it or not, the preseason kicks off tonight with the Hall of Fame game between the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets. NBC News correspondent Kaylee Hartung joins us now on this. She is there. Hey, Kaylee, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. They like to say it's always football season here in Canton, Ohio. This is the birthplace of the NFL, after all. And tonight, the fun really takes off. The Football Night in America NBC crew will be on hand as Jets fans get excited for a new era of gangrene.
Jets.
The wait is finally over.
Browns.
6 months after Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs dominated the desert in Super Bowl 57, football is back.
The world is starved for football, so once it's on and we're under the lights, I know everybody's tuning in.
Tonight, the annual NFL Hall of Fame game. NBC broadcasting the first preseason contest, matching up the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets.
You were a lifelong Jets fan.
Absolutely.
Have you ever been this excited for a season?
I have not. We have not had a good quarterback since Joe Willie Namath.
The Jets haven't been to the playoffs in over a decade, but the biggest trade of the offseason has gangrene flying high.
We're talking about one of the biggest names in football.
Yeah, for sure. After weeks of speculation, Aaron Rodgers, the longtime quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, is officially heading to the New York Jets.
Tonight, a chance for long-suffering Jets fans to see the four-time league MVP on their sideline for the very first time.
He's one of the best to ever play the game. He's got a lot left in the tank. He's got a lot left to prove. It looks like he's really enjoying being in New York, and I can tell you New York is enjoying having him here.
Like most stars, Rodgers won't see much playing time in the preseason. but he definitely knows how to play the media game.
I wouldn't mind playing in the preseason. I wouldn't mind.
You know, I think it's going to be a New York Jets takeover.
The game in Canton, just an hour's drive from the Browns' home field. Cleveland's head coach Kevin Stefanski confident Browns fans, known as the Dog Pound, will be out in force.
The Hall of Fame's in our backyard practically, and I think all of Cleveland's coming with us.
We've always watched the games, but having the Browns here is just amazing.
Excitement for a fresh start made even sweeter this weekend as both teams celebrate former players joining the most exclusive club in sports. Joe Thomas, Joe Klecko, and Darrelle Revis among the 9 inductees into the NFL Hall of Fame Saturday.
This is what happens at the Hall of Fame. Who signed your shirt?
Marcus Ware, in person. How cool is that?
This group of friends, connected through their military service, driving 6 hours from New Jersey to football's most hallowed ground.
So you don't just have to be a Jets fan or a Browns fan to be here right now.
You got to be a football fan. Yeah, New Orleans Saints. He's saying you got the Rams. Rams, we got them all. You just got to be a football fan to be here.
Just got to be a football fan.
Fans are amped up to be here, and it's a really special experience for the teams involved here, too. With the Browns so close by, they're actually just hopping on buses to make the short trip. Head coach Kevin Stefanski said to me with a smile, it's like a throwback to high school football days and what the travel was like for these guys back then. And as for the Jets, though, guys, they traveled here in style last night on a double-decker plane. Sauce Gardner tweeted, yeah, this is the Aaron Rodgers effect. But the effect they really want Rodgers to have on this Jets team, they went for a special visit at the Pro Football Hall of Fame last night, and there was a Rodgers jersey on display from his 2020 MVP season with the Packers. You know, that's what they're looking for. Play out of Aaron Rodgers that is worthy of recognition in the Hall of Fame, guys.
There you go.
And the double-decker plane's just an extra bonus. All right.
As we all know, I'm not like super loyal or in the know, but I guess I'm in my Jets green as a New Yorker. There we go. Kaylee, thank you so much. How exciting. All right, coming up, gone but not forgotten.
On what would have been his 97th birthday, we have an exclusive interview with the family of Tony Bennett, how they're remembering the man whose music impacted so many. Next.
Welcome back. So we keep talking about how we are seeing the use of artificial intelligence just about everywhere. Well, get this. AI is coming to a concert hall. The Baltimore Symphony Orchestra will host its first ever AI concert next week. It's called AI in a Minor. Musicians will perform music that was composed by, obviously, artificial intelligence. But get this, though, we understand some of the musicians in the symphony also had to have a hand in refining the music into something that, well, that humans would enjoy. And it won't be just the music. The concert ads and menu drinks will also be created by an algorithm. There's still plenty of seats available if you want to have some fun, but pretty cool. I like the detail that a human had to help, because that's some of what we're seeing.
This is okay, but maybe, leads a little.
You can't just
help.
give it all up to AI, you know?
Good.
It's good news.
Good to hear that. All right. It has been less than 2 weeks since the death of music icon Tony Bennett. Today would have been his 97th birthday.
Yeah, and in honor of that, today, anchor Hoda Kotb spoke with Bennett's family for the first time since his passing.
Good to see you, Tony. He didn't just light up a room, he just loved the room, you know. He just was all love, all the time.
I mean, he said it to the day he died. You know, it's all about love.
And all about love is how most anyone who crossed paths with legendary singer Tony Bennett would feel after being in his presence. But Susan Benedetto, Tony's partner of 38 years, and Tony's eldest son, Danny Bennett, got to live and breathe it every day. I mean, it seems like he's the guy who kept giving gifts. Did he ever get tired of...
Never.
No. Never.
I mean, Tony loved being a public person. He loved being an entertainer. And, you know, he really believed when he said, I'm in the business of making people feel good, and he felt that was a very noble thing.
Susan met Tony at one of his concerts in 1985. She says their connection was instant. She went as a fan of his music and left having met her perfect match. They eventually married in 2007. Susan shared these private photos with us that capture the joy and devotion of their partnership. Why do you think your relationship spanned all those years?
You know, he performed to everybody. He never saw generation gaps or anything. And so, and privately, we didn't either. You know, we just absolutely loved each other, and he was my life.
Danny, to be Tony Bennett's son, has to be, first of all, an amazing experience. How would you describe it?
He was just the man of the people. And so we experienced that as kids. And as we're seeing with this amazing outpouring, it's coming from every sector, whether it's music or art or the cab driver on the street and, the hot dog guy. It was an amazing journey.
Danny also had an amazing journey as Tony's manager. Together, they introduced Tony to a new audience, starting with the MTV generation of the 90s.
And with MTV, he came into my office one time. He said, I was watching MTV. He goes, I think I can do that, and then walked out. And I was like, all right.
And he was still making connections with new audiences, winning his 20th and final Grammy for an album with close friend Lady Gaga. When Lady Gaga obviously got his final Grammy with Lady Gaga, what did you think of that relationship, Susan?
Well, I mean, I think it was a tremendous gift to each of them.
Yeah.
I loved it. And the fact that she could help him to really ride out his career in such a great way.
A career that never slowed down, even after being diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in 2016. Did he know, explain what he knew about his illness?
He really never did. When he was diagnosed, Danny and I thought, this is going to be it. He's going to have to slow down, Yeah. But Tony's like, I don't know what you're talking about, I want to keep singing. And
we'd take him to the doctor, and he'd go, why am I here?
We would leave, and Tony's like, Susan, I'm really okay. You don't have to come back.
So even though you forget a lot with Alzheimer's, he remembered the songs.
He could do that.
That's amazing.
He could do the songs.
The week before he passed away.
Not even, just a couple days.
Yeah.
He was singing. He sang Because of You. We were getting him up to exercise, and so it was easy to just latch onto the piano. And I said, Tom, why don't you get up and you can sing, any excuse to just get him up. Yeah. And he's like, I said, why don't you sing? He's like, what do you want to hear? I said, how about singing Because of You? So he sang Because of You.
What does that moment mean to you now, Susan?
Well, of course, it bookends his career. If you think just musically speaking, that was his first hit, and then that was literally just the last song that he sang. But the music never left him. No. And when he did have more alert moments, or like first thing in the morning, he didn't ask really about anyone or anything except, am I working tonight? That's really, and the other day he's like, Susan, am I in a good theater tonight? It's like something like that. And the week before, one of the aides, lovely young Ukrainian man, so I was teaching him a little about tone and stuff, and so we were watching YouTube, and Tony was alert enough that he's like watching it, and he said, was I always popular? And I said, yes, sweetheart. I said, you've been popular for over 70 years. And he said, that's because I stayed with quality.
Stayed with quality. Did he remember you?
He did. Thank goodness, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Danny, did he remember you too?
Yeah, he did. His last words to me was thank you.
Yeah.
Can't say it better than that.
What was the last thing he said to you, Susan? Do you remember?
That he loved me. Yeah. So, I mean, he would wake up every day and still say that. Yeah. He woke up happy every day, even if he had a bad day or not. He didn't remember it. That was the only blessing. And yeah, he woke up happy, and he's just like, Susan, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. And he would say all the time.
How do you think he, Susan, would like to be remembered?
He didn't want to be remembered as the best, and he just really wanted to be remembered as a nice person. And I think all the outpouring of love from people that we know and love, and complete strangers, has proven that.
Yeah.
People feel like they've lost a family friend, even if they never met him. And, when he sang, he truly believed what he was singing.
What did you lose the day Tony died?
Well, I mean, the obvious thing is to say everything. I lost my North Star, but, no reason to feel bad for me, though, because my life has been wonderful, and, I'll find a way to make sure it stays that way. It'll just be different forever.
What a beautiful interview, and to hear his last words were, I love you, to his wife, and thank you to his son.
Yeah, and how cool just for people who have been fans, lifelong fans in many cases, to get some of those insider details about the music not leaving him, playing that song, singing Because of You right before. I mean, it's pretty incredible the way they opened up like that.
Thanks to Hoda Kotb for bringing us that interview.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now. Stay with us.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.